Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, GameStop picks up Reggie. Used. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including Reggie Fils-Aime joining the board of directors at GameStop. And then on Thursday, come on back because we are going to be joined by Colin J. Morris to discuss the third season of Netflix's Castlevania show. But in the meantime, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I think we have found a format to talk about this Castlevania show.
Yes.
That will work for us.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe fair even to preview it a little bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna be discussing it. It's all one episode, but we're gonna do kind of 3 episodes at a time. So the first 3, then the next 3, then the next 3, and then the finale.
Yeah, so it's one of our episodes covering
Yes.
10 of their episodes.
Right. We have
It's a perfect exchange.
we have
rate.
an economy on this show. We'll take 10 whole episodes of Castlevania and cram it into one episode. But if you are not all the way through the season, there'll be a pretty easy place to bail. If you've only watched 3 or 6.
Yeah,
or
for
whatever.
sure.
But here's something that you don't need to worry about getting spoiled on. My copy of Sonic Forces. Would you like to borrow it? I bet you would. I don't know why that was so cocky. I hated it. I bet you want to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces, don't you?
See, okay,
Yeah.
I actually don't think it was that cocky, but I think we usually err on the side of apology when we're talking about Sonic Forces.
This
and
is
so
true.
you brought it around to just positivity, and that felt so wrong for you.
Yes.
You were like, I must be boasting.
Okay, so here's the thing. We did get an email from Christian. Thank you, Christian, for sending us an email. Loved your emails this week. And in fact, we're going to be basing an episode next week on one of your questions to us. But in the meantime, here's part of one of his emails. It reads, do with this information what you will, but the perfect borrowing program may be in jeopardy. This isn't a Sony podcast, but Sonic Forces just so happens to be free this month on PlayStation for PlayStation Plus members. And I feel it is my duty, nay my pleasure, to ensure that as many people play this absolute masterpiece of a game as possible, so I wanted to share. So, this is true. If you own a PlayStation 4 and you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber, Sonic Forces is free. And I would encourage anyone who genuinely wants to play Sonic Forces to do that. If you want to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces, and we've already established that I think you do, you need to email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address, and we'll send it to you, and you can play it for as long as you want, and it won't even cost you what's a PlayStation Plus subscription cost now? $60 a year?
$60, $100? I don't know.
Maybe $200? No one knows. You know what it costs you to participate in this borrowing program? Nothing. You know what it costs you to
Nothing.
listen to this show? Nothing. Maybe you leave a review once in a while. Maybe. I'm sure there are people that don't even do that, and that's fine. Mark, it's fine. Anyway, participate in that.
But, and also, thank
Yes.
you to everyone who does leave us a review,
Yes.
including Sin Chris 21, who left us a review this past week in the Apple Podcast US store. So thank you very much for doing that. And as always, thank you to everyone who's rated us wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, and for anyone who participated in leaving us a review and requesting an issue of Transformers, those have been sent out.
That's right. They were all sent out yesterday morning. So look forward to your issue of Transformers soon.
Yeah. And then also something to look forward to soon. All month of April, we are playing Super NES Classics, which means that's something we should actually get on. Mark, let's have a little conversation after we record this about how we're going to pull this off. But on April 2nd, we are going to be talking about Zelda Link to the Past. On April 9th, we're going to be talking about Super Metroid. On the 16th, we're going to be talking about Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. And on the 24th, we are going to be talking about Star Fox. We are letting you know ahead of time so that you can send us questions or observations or play along or whatever. And all of those should go to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com or tweet at us at NinCartSociety for that. Mark, before we jump into the episode proper, we've got some emails from listeners regarding our Zelda A to Z episode. Mitchell Moody wrote in and said, "Just listen to the A to Z episode. However, I feel you missed two super obvious picks. First, I was sure one of you was going to choose rupees for the letter R. They have been in every game and they're a staple of the series. I can forgive that, but no T for Tingle. This is a disrespect to the series. But besides that, love the episode. Keep putting out great content."
Mitchell, I don't blame you for wanting Tingle to be mentioned. It was on my list. Okay, so you know how I cheated early with like B and put like 3 different options? Beetle,
Yes.
Blue Tunic,
Yes.
and then I finally settled on one that I can't remember right now.
So it's obviously as impactful as those other two. Yeah.
But yeah, Tingle and Rupee were both on my list, but I decided to stop cheating and just like settle on one.
Just say one.
But I have so many regrets about not including Tingle because of course I want every opportunity to talk about Tingle.
I mean, I think it was on you because there was no way I was going to give up Terrytown.
Right.
My favorite part of my favorite game.
And now I can't even remember what I chose for T.
Yeah, I mean, but what?
It wasn't Tingle.
Look, one of the things, I love this show. I love this podcast. I love doing it with you. The second the words leave my mouth, they're gone. Recorded as ones and zeros, thank God, because I don't remember them. And then we also got a message from Mark Hine. He says, "Hi, Patrick and Mark. I've just finished your Zelda A to Z episode, and it was great. My A would have been Amiibo. Man, did Breath of the Wild change my passing interest into a full-blown obsession. The way the chests would fall from the sky was so fulfilling. Each day was like my birthday, as I'd get excited collecting 5 ice arrows or my 10th cap of the wind. I ended up tracking down all the Zelda amiibos at some great cost. It drove my wife crazy to see a 50-plus man sitting amongst 23 toys, as she called them, ignoring my insistence that they were interactive action figures, scanning each one. Trouble is, I use most of my game time for the day scanning them. I have around 300 hours clocked in Breath of the Wild, half of which is probably using the amiibos. I hope they use them again in Breath of the Wild 2. That would go some way to justify the $500+ I spent on collecting them. Keep up the great show, Mark Hine." Mark, this is a great point. And I wish we would have brought it up on our show too, because I didn't go so super hard into the I have the majority of the Zelda amiibos. I know I have a couple of I don't have the Skyward Sword one, for example, and there might be maybe the Twilight Princess one. I can't actually picture what it is, but the Wolf Link Midna amiibo is my favorite because I loved that it connected to the Twilight Princess remake. That you would have to do the trial of the whatever it was as the wolf, and then the number of hearts that you finished it with would be the number of hearts that your wolf would have when you summoned him. So I have a 17 heart wolf who will join me in Breath of the Wild at any time, and he's a monster. He'll tear up enemies. He's so good and so useful. But thank you for writing in, Mark. What do you think? Do you want to see the amiibo support at all?
I hadn't thought about it before, but that's a really good point. I'd be surprised if they don't. I just feel like amiibo has kind of, maybe just because they're not as announcing as many as they used to, that they just feel more like an afterthought than they had before. But they have so many sitting around. Especially, they sold all of these Zelda ones. They should totally support it in the new game.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, even though Animal Crossing has amiibo support, and that was part of the latest Nintendo Direct about it. That we don't have more Animal Crossing amiibos coming out. There weren't any Luigi's Mansion amiibos. No, even as far back as Yoshi's Crafted World. I'm trying to remember the last Nintendo amiibos that they put out.
Yeah, outside of Smash Brothers, it just feels
I guess the Smash ones.
Yeah, but that's it, and those at this point are almost
they're obligatory.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for writing in, and Christian, we will get to your topic of what to play next / what Nintendo games to play kind of first as someone coming back to the platform for the first time in a long time. But in the meantime, let's move on to what we've been playing. We have both, yes?
Yeah.
Been playing Murder by Numbers. Mark, how are you enjoying Murder by Numbers?
I'm liking it.
Yeah.
It's funny how familiar it feels, like, because the art style, the music, some of the sound effects are very reminiscent of Phoenix Wright. Like, I think the I looked it up beforehand, but the name of the robot thing,
Yeah, Scout.
Scout.
Yeah.
The sound effect when Scout, especially at the beginning when you see you are like seeing Scout.
Yeah, it's like his startup screen.
Yeah, exactly. The startup screen, like the text is exactly the sound effect that they use for text advancing in Phoenix Wright. So I love that because it feels like so familiar. I really like the LA setting and like all the kind of like show businessy
Yeah.
qualities of it. And then I'm really liking the puzzles.
Yeah, good. That's great because we, for the number of times that you've let me go on about Picross, I had never really had an inclination that you were into Picross.
Yeah, I'd never done one before. But yeah, at the beginning of the game, I'm not very far in. At the beginning of the game, I feel like I wish there were more puzzles. Like at the very beginning,
Yeah.
I was like, should I just buy a Picross game? Like, because that's the aspects of it that I was enjoying the most.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is tough because I do get into points when I'm playing where I'm just like, no, just give me more Picross. Like, just give me another puzzle. And luckily, as you are going through each of the cases, you are unlocking Scout memories that you can go in and play, and all those memories are just puzzles.
Yeah.
So, like, I finished the first case, and then I like went in and had like a good hour and a half of just like puzzles to do, like back to back puzzle.
I'm assuming you're playing on normal.
You bet.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm playing on easy because this is like my first Picross type game.
Yeah.
I am curious. Can you play this game in handheld mode, like using the touchscreen?
I don't know.
I don't know either. And the controls work fine on Switch. I've been playing on the TV, like doing the puzzles that way.
Yeah,
but
me
I can
too.
definitely see like Picross feels like something that would really like soar using a stylus on like a 3DS.
When you can just like put it down on the screen and just like drag it across and be like, I got this whole line. That's wonderful. I am also enjoying the setting and the like writing of it, which is all like pretty competent. I'm not like blown away by any of it, but like it all feels. I'm never like. Ugh.
It's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: does Phoenix Wright do? There's like a punch sound effect that happens like all the time in this. Whenever a character is like remotely like, when I think it would be a. It's like a and like the screen shakes. Is that a Phoenix Wright thing, or
I can't really remember.
I find it to be a little too intrusive. Where I'm like, let's calm down a little bit here. And then I also wanted to know why, and I guess this is just like the difference between visual novels as games and like comic books, but I don't know why they don't do anything with like the lettering, that all of the dialogue is just in a box on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
And like it says who's speaking. But like you gotta read that part and then read if it was just like in a balloon near that person's face, I feel like it would like flow better. And I understand they're like different conventions and different mediums, but I just find myself a little bit being like, is this the easiest? Is this the best way to do this? And then also I had a little bit of a horror story, a little bit of a thing happened to me. I don't like the way the cursor defaults to, like where it defaults to. Because I will frequently like re-ask a person the same question.
Oh, yeah.
Because the cursor just stays right there on the question, even though it's already grayed out. And then I had to like read that dialogue again. It's like, come on, let's move that cursor down. But also when you turn the game on, it defaults to new game. And not saved game or like load game or continue, I guess is the option. And so I had been playing the second case and was kind of deep into it, maybe like 10 or 12 puzzles, and saved it and left and came back and like went to start up the game and was like excited, like, pushing the button to get in quicker, and accidentally selected new game and opened the second case, because I think this is the first time I'd turned it on after like saving and quitting and coming back. And so selected the case, and then it started over at the beginning, and I was like, oh, this isn't right. I exit out, and then it had auto-saved
Oh.
over my previous save game. So I spent a little time this afternoon like reworking through some
sucks.
like the beginning of the second case again, which is like, I shouldn't have to do this.
Yeah, that does suck.
But the game is great, and I'm really happy with it. The music is great and chill, and there was a little bit this weekend where I was playing it, and Sarah was sitting next to me on the couch. And usually, if I'm playing a game with repetitive music, she'll be like, "Okay, can we listen to something else?" But this, we just let it ride the whole time, baby. It's nice, smooth jams.
I know when you were first getting into Picross, we asked for suggestions.
Yes.
On all platforms, but I am interested if somebody has a suggestion for Picross games on Switch.
Yeah.
Because that, I know I just said that it seems like 3DS would be a great platform to play on.
And it is.
I'm not going to play on my 3DS.
All right.
But I would, if anybody has a recommendation for a just straight up Picross game on Switch, I'm super interested at this point.
Yeah, hit us up. I would also love to know. Okay, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
We skipped over it in the news last week, but the first of 2 Luigi's Mansion 3 multiplayer DLC packs was released. It was released.
The first of 2 was released, yes.
It includes 3 costumes for Luigi, Mumigi, which is a mummy.
I think it's Mumigi, right? Because he's a mummy.
I mean,
although it's Luigi, Mumigi, Mumigi, it's tough.
I have to hear him say it to
Right.
know for sure.
I'm a Mumigi. I hate it.
Green Knight, a suit of armor, and okay, how would you say this one?
Groovigi.
Okay,
Yeah. This one's easy. It's Gooigi, but with an R and a V.
and Groovy G has bell bottoms, tall hair, and an unbuttoned shirt and jacket.
Yeah, he's basically Saturday Night Fever Luigi.
We got new themed ghosts that appear in Scare Scraper, and then 3 new minigames in Scream Park, Dodge Brawl, River Ghost Hunt, and Tricky Ghost Hunt.
Mark, do you think that we should play some of these Luigi's Mansion? I know we haven't played any Scare Scraper or any Scream Park.
No, we haven't. And like
We
Scare
should do
Scraper seemed
this.
really fun. We should totally do this. Just a reminder that the whole set of DLC costs $9.99, and there's a second piece coming at the end of July.
Great.
Also, today, March 10th, Greaser. How would you say this?
Yeah, maybe land. Yeah, I would say Landgrisser.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
But you think it's French? Langrisser?
It could be.
It might be.
Yeah. It's a remake of Mega Drive tactical RPG games. I'm not familiar with them at all, but when I saw it, I was like, this is something I've heard of before. So I looked it up.
Very good.
On Thursday, March 12th, Street Cat's Tale is released. Have you seen any video of this?
No, what is this?
It seems very cute.
Oh.
It's like adorable little kitten running around the town, just being like a little street cat. You have little missions you have to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like a Untitled Goose Game, but you're a cat?
No, I think it
Sounds
seems more
exactly like Untitled Goose
I think
Game,
it's
except
more
you're a
like
cat.
story driven. You know, like you're like a sad cat maybe that's like living on the street. It looks very cute. And then on Friday, March 13th, Animal Crossing New Horizons, the Nintendo Switch model, not the game.
Yeah, that was a real bait and switch there,
Will
Mark.
be a week away from the game, but on the 13th, the special edition Nintendo Switch is released.
Which is very exciting. It's a good-looking Switch. I don't think either of us have any plans to upgrade at this point, right? Yeah, even though I know you were talking a good game, that was if there was a Switch Lite that was Animal Crossing thing.
And I'm still shocked that there isn't one.
Yeah, I mean, they've got this pink coral one,
Mm-hmm.
but even that's not coming out until
April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit poorly timed there. All right, those are the new releases. Let's get out of this segment. Now it's time for a regular segment on the show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, today we are going to be ranking sitcom catchphrases.
Yes.
So to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and to the best of our abilities, we are going to go back and forth naming catchphrases until we get to 8.
Yeah, roughly. We'll
Roughly.
see how far we can get.
See how far we can get, and then we will rank these catchphrases. Mark, since this is your topic, would you like to kick us off?
Yes. Okay. I'm the baby, gotta love me.
Okay.
From Dinosaur.
Right. So
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm the baby, gotta love me.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with the Steve Urkel classic. Did I do that?
I will see your did I do that and
Thank you.
raise you a bazinga
Oh my goodness.
from Big Bang Theory.
Okay, bazinga's a good one. I'm going to go with a. This becomes hard immediately.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with How Rude from Full House.
That's good. I was debating How Rude. You Got It, Dude was like another potential Full House one.
I mean, I think
How Rude is good.
I do feel like we could do both.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Okay.
With your next poll.
Am potentially cheating by going with like. Do we think it's I Carumba for Bart Simpson
No,
or
I
Eat
think,
My Shorts?
Ooh boy.
I feel like
I think I Carumba.
I think
is
so.
probably Carumba. Okay. And then I will see your I Carumba and do a good old Steve Carell, Michael Scott. That's what she said.
Oh, so 2 more.
Right, one from each of us.
Okay. How about Whoa from Blossom?
Okay, whoa is good. And then let me spell whoa right. It's hard. And then I will go with the old Ricky Ricardo. Lucy, you've got some splaining to do.
Perfect.
Okay. So, anything stand out here as immediately very good or bad?
So one thing I will say for Whoa is that it's so versatile. Right? It's like, do you remember that short-lived app that you could just send the word yo to people?
Sure.
I feel like Whoa is very similar to yo in that it can mean so many different things.
Yeah, yes. And so that is, yes. And also, it is very much based on the intonation, right? Like, everyone loves going, whoa. Like, everyone likes doing it, right?
Right.
And it's not just about the word, which is arguably not even a word.
Now, one thing I will say not in its favor is I don't think it's particularly, as a catchphrase, stood the test of time.
Sure.
In the way some of these other ones have.
So I wanna go after bazinga for a second.
Okay.
Because I don't know what it means. In what context do they say bazinga? Like, yes, is that what it's like?
Yeah. So I think it's just Sheldon. I think it's Sheldon's catchphrase.
Oh,
and
is it a word that he made up?
I mean, I don't know, but I think it's him saying like, "I got you."
Oh,
right. It's like putting a punctuation on the end of a joke. So not necessarily like tricked you, but just like, oh, bazinga. Like it's him putting like punctuation on something.
Oh, but that's an interesting kind of vindictive punctuation mark.
Yeah, I think I'm not necessarily. I think it has multiple uses.
Okay. And then I think that's what she said. Maybe even gets pulled out and taken into like a different bracket because it's very good, but it is already engaging in a certain amount of irony, right? That Steve Carell is saying, or that Michael Scott is saying something that he has heard as a catchphrase already.
Right.
The character on the show is using a catchphrase intentionally in a way that the rest of these characters are not. So maybe we remove it from competition?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Goodbye, that's what she said. You belong on a higher plane of existence than the rest of us. Okay, so we think all we've said really so far is that whoa is versatile, and that bazinga is maybe mean, but maybe not as mean as we were making it out to be. So I'm the baby, gotta love me. Oh man, we didn't get anywhere in this.
Well, maybe next week we'll actually rank them. And this week we just came up with them.
Very good. Well, we were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
And hey, maybe this is the rare 433 where if you have an opinion on it, you can email us
at Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
Here's the thing. I think what we should have done is just the whole time should have just been us going back and forth naming,
trying to name as many as possible.
Yeah, until we ran out. That's what it should have been. But no. I would like to hear people rank them. Again, they are I'm the Baby Gotta Love Me, Did I Do That? Bazinga, How Rude, I Caramba, Whoa, and Lucy, You Got Some Splaining to Do. And then, of course, we have moved, that's what she said, out of competition.
On Monday, GameStop announced that former president of Nintendo of America, Reggie Fils-Aime, joined the GameStop board of directors. Reggie commented on Twitter, quote, "The gaming industry needs a healthy and vibrant GameStop. I look forward to being a part of GameStop Corp board and helping to make this happen."
Kind of crazy news, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I actually think this is a really good get for GameStop.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, especially because like one of the things that Nintendo is historically bad at is planning their they're not great at physical distribution of goods.
Operations, yeah.
And like if that is the only thing that GameStop can bring to the table, is being able to be in everyone's mall, sometimes 2 or 3 times in any given mall, to get those products out to people. Like his relationship to Nintendo is going to be good for Nintendo and good for GameStop.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I also think that just as far as GameStop is going, I think he's right that the industry needs a GameStop, if not like GameStop itself. It needs some sort of like widespread store that's dedicated to video games. And they've struggled like a lot of stores have in figuring out like what is the direction of GameStop and how do we make money in a market that is becoming more and more digital focused. And I think Reggie is a really smart person to have on the board in trying to like navigate those types of waters.
Yeah, well, and especially when you sort of again just like kind of underlining his connection to Nintendo, that like one of the things that in absent just like digital game distribution, that Nintendo has a lot of physical things that go with their games that you can't buy digitally. You can't buy Amiibo digitally. You can't buy Labo digitally. You can't buy Ring Fit Adventure digitally. These are all things that you need to have a physical storefront in order to, purchase. And like, I don't know if it's more common for people to have like extra Joy-Cons or what, but it feels more versus like having extra controllers for another platform. But like I haven't owned a second PlayStation controller in the last 2 generations. So like, but like, do I always have a second Nintendo controller? Like, yeah, absolutely.
And then also joining the board is Will Simons, formerly of KKR & Co. and Walmart, and J.K. Szymanczyk. I feel like we just went over how to say that, and I already forgot.
It's okay. Szymanczyk, I think is right.
Perfect. Former president and CEO of PetSmart and Academy Sports and Outdoor.
So obviously they've got one guy who's like a big box store kind of person, and then another one that's like a specialty retailer that is plugged into the specific needs of a very like niche market, like pets or like outdoor activities. I guess those aren't super niche, but like still kind of follow in the realm of games.
Also interesting that they are just like shaking up the board seemingly, unless they're adding these people and expanding the board.
No, they also mentioned in their press step down. But I thought it was more fun to report on the additions than on the people who lost their jobs.
Well, Reggie's appointment is effective April 20th, 2020. Of course, we all know April 20th as Labo Day.
Of course.
And while the other 2 are on the board effective immediately.
So it is or will be cool to see what we get from GameStop.
Yeah.
I mean, like that, and that's a weird place to be, don't you think? Like GameStop is kind of an entity that I had like written off a little bit as one that we're not going to really have to think too much about.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we see like strategic changes at all, or like how long that'll take.
Great. I mean, and maybe we won't. But also like GameStop got into game publishing for a little while. I have to imagine they're still doing it in some capacity. So like I wonder if that'll continue and if we'll see any of like Reggie's influence through that, or if like any of his relationships with developers end up like popping up through that. It's there's a big open wide world here, and maybe GameStop is going to be far from the irrelevant thing that we thought it was.
Yeah, I'd like to see GameStop turn it around. It not that long ago, a few weeks ago, I think it was in Polygon, they'd had an article talking about kind of the what's happening in GameStop right now and the pressure that store managers are under to like
Yeah.
deliver certain metrics and try to get people to sell their phones to them and all that kind of stuff. And reading the article reminded me so much of years ago when I had a part-time job at Borders Books.
Yeah.
And I was there like not when it completely went under, but like a year or two before that.
Sure.
And the tactics and just like the atmosphere and like all the stuff they were describing was so similar
Yeah.
to a company that's just like flailing and you can, is just like on a downward spiral. So I would like to see GameStop turn it around. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to.
Yeah, well, and like you would think that like they're coming up on what could be seen as like a saving grace in the launch of new consoles, but I sort of suspect that this is going to be a poorly timed new console launch. We talked in previous weeks about how like coronavirus and work stoppages in China are going to make like part availability and like the actual labor to assemble these things more limited than they would be otherwise. But also that the price of these machines, it's rumored that just to make the PlayStation 5 that it's like $470 or something in that neighborhood. So the boxes are definitely going to retail for at least $500. We're sort of heading into a recession right now, when it could be worse than the one like 10 years ago, which was what was blamed for the extended length of the previous generation. So like it doesn't feel like it's a good time for a console launch.
It's hard to know.
Of course, it's hard to know,
like,
yes.
Not
to doom and gloom.
Right.
Yes.
It's difficult to know, but I completely agree that the landscape looks very complicated.
Yeah.
And that I think companies have a lot of difficult decisions to be making in the next few months.
Right. And everyone's going to try to predict the future, and no one's going to do it.
Totally. Doom 64, which will be available on Switch on March 20th, 2020. Also known as 1 month before Labo Day.
Yes, that's right.
Has a few features.
And is also Animal Crossing
Oh,
Day.
right. That's right.
How
of course.
dare you?
Has a few features not found in the original 1997 release. In an interview with US Gamer, senior developer James Haley revealed some of these features, including a new chapter in the game. Haley said, quote, "Persistent players will have the opportunity to unlock a new chapter in the Doom's Guys saga, taking place shortly after Doom 64's original campaign concludes. The mother demon you defeated in that outing had a sister, and since you've been messing up hell nonstop, she tries to get rid of you by sending you away. If you can make your way back and take revenge, you'll be rewarded with a bit of lore that fans of both series, new and classic, should enjoy."
Crazy. There's like a new level in this game that they're re-releasing.
Yeah, I've never played Doom 64. I mean, honestly, I've never really played a bunch of Doom.
Yeah, well, you played the
new one, but like yeah,
2016.
Yeah, which I loved. But like old school Doom, I remember going over to the my friend who lived across the street, going to his house, and they had it on TV on computer.
Yes,
and just being like blown away, but also like this game is too violent. Like,
see, meanwhile, I was in the basement of Chadwick's Cards and Games, and there were like a whole bank of computers lined up where we would do like LAN parties there. But by the time that we were plugged into that, we were just playing Duke Nukem 3D,
baby. Also included in the Doom 64 release for Switch will be optional motion controls, auto map navigation on the touchscreen, brightness settings, and an option to switch the blood color from red to green as it was in the original Japanese release.
Always appreciate when you can switch the blood from red to green.
In a statement provided to Kotaku, speaking of the coronavirus, Nintendo of America has revealed that they are allowing their employees in California and Washington State to work from home, this as a preventative measure to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Which is, just sort of a thing that we are seeing in a lot of different office environments, and good to see Nintendo being proactive about it.
South by Southwest in Texas was canceled last week for the first time ever in that festival's history, out of overgrowing concerns surrounding COVID-19, meaning that the scheduled Sonic the Hedgehog panel, which was teased to have some game announcements, will not be happening.
Yes, that's right. We are bringing up South by Southwest cancellation, but only as it pertains to Sonic the Hedgehog.
But fear not, a tweet from the official Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account said that they would be repackaging the announcements in a different form this April.
So, I mean, I guess it stands to reason that they would still have products to announce. But now we know that we can learn more about what's happening in Sonic Land in April.
Yoshinori Kitatsu, director of...
Sorry, it's Yoshinori.
Oh, Yoshinori.
Yes.
Kitatsu, director of Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy X, and a current member of Square Enix's Final Fantasy Committee, mentioned in an interview with Game Reactor that he would like to see a remake of Final Fantasy V.
So I did not really realize. I was reading up on the Final Fantasy Committee. There is like a group of game devs and producers who work at Square Enix who are like part of maintaining the singular brand identity.
Like
of Final
the
Fantasy.
Lucasfilm Story Group or
Just like the
something.
Lucasfilm Story Group,
cool.
yeah.
That's
Except-
cool. I didn't know that existed. That's
except
awesome.
Way less focused on continuity. And way more like
Which seems even more fun.
Yeah,
We're just
yeah.
like, let's just preserve the essence of, I guess maybe then it's like the Pixar brain trust, which I don't think exists in like the same form as it did 10 years ago or something, but that same idea exists.
I mean, here's what I'm picturing right now is like 6 dudes in like big wingback leather chairs smoking giant cigars.
Exactly. Yes.
Going
Desperately old Japanese dudes.
Does it got Smoogles in it? It's a Final Fantasy. Sell it as Final Fantasy.
So yes, that part is awesome. He mentioned that he would like to see a remake of Final Fantasy V. Kind of.
I love this quote.
So his quote is, quote, laughs. Okay, so first of all, you have to promise you're not going to write an article saying Square Enix is remaking Final Fantasy something something. It's just a purely personal opinion. Just so understand that. With that caveat in place, the first Final Fantasy that I worked on myself was Final Fantasy V. That hasn't been remade with the more realistic kind of approach yet. So I think it might be quite interesting to do a Final Fantasy V remake someday.
That is
a great quote.
Isn't it great that he's like, no, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Don't go talking about this on podcasts or nothing. And here we are. But I like the idea of, I mean, especially with Final Fantasy VII Remake, the demo launched on PlayStation just last week. And, we demoed it at E3 last year, and it's going to come out very soon. And I think it's going to be a big hit for PlayStation and for Square Enix. So I gotta wonder, like, why wouldn't they go back and like remake all these games that are like known bankable properties that can be multiple games, and there are all these smart systems and characters that people have affinity for. Like, yeah, go for it.
Do you think they'd go? I mean, I think that'd be cool, but do you think they'd go back this far? Like, do you think people have the same sort of affinity for 5 that they do like 7? I just don't feel like it's bankable in the same way.
It's so 5 in particular is definitely not bankable in the same way. 5 was but during the Super Nintendo's life cycle, which the game originally came out on Super Famicom, and it didn't come to North America. We got it later in the PlayStation, or the Final Fantasy Anthology in 1999 on PlayStation, and then there was a Final Fantasy V Advance on the Game Boy Advance in 2006. So 5 in particular would be less bankable than 4 or 6 or 9 or even 8 and 10. Like, all of those games I think would be and maybe 10 is a little bit too recent to remake, but I feel like the rest of those, I mean, what did I just named like 6 games?
Especially could you imagine if they split all of those up into like multiple
I cannot
game releases? Hey, let's check in on the Wonderful 101 Kickstarter,
yes,
which is now over, but finished with more than $2.2 million in final funding.
$2 million.
That means the following stretch goal was reached since we last talked about it. A second side-scrolling spin-off game called Luca's Second Mission.
This is, of course, the sequel to Luca's First Mission.
Sadly, this does fall short of the $2.25 million that was needed to unlock 2 new orchestral re-recordings of the soundtrack. Still, not looking too bad when the original goal was $50K.
That's... Yes. I mean, and obviously, like, $50K was them lowballing.
Totally.
Like...
Yeah.
It
was a promotional tool more than
Yes.
anything else.
And what a promotional tool that netted them $2.2 million. The game is a success before it launches.
Mm-hmm.
Good work, guys.
And finally, hey, today is Mario Day, March 10th.
Happy Mario Day, Mark.
So happy Mario Day to you, Patrick.
Thank you.
So
we shall now exchange gifts, as is our tradition.
That's right. And of course, happy Mario Day to all of our listeners, whether you will be in whatever form you celebrate.
Right. Even if you celebrate privately.
So to celebrate their Nintendo's way of celebrating is a big sale on the eShop, including many first-party titles. So here's some highlights. You can get Super Mario Maker 2 for $40.
This is a good deal, and I think probably the best one on here. Super Mario Maker 2 is definitely worth $40.
I also think Super Mario Party 2, or excuse me, just Super Mario Party, which is $40 versus the normal $60. That if you have been interested in Super Mario Party,
yes,
like that's a good deal, $20 off.
And if you have that second set of Joy-Cons, as I was so confidently saying everyone has, it's a great 4-player experience. And like anyone can access it. Like it is a good, effective party game.
You can also pick up Yoshi's Crafted World for $40. Mega Man 11 is $15. Although, is this related to Mario Day, or is Capcom just happening to hold a sale?
Capcom is also holding a sale
because all the Mega Man Legacy Collections are $10 each this week. And then 9 Parchments is $6. I'm not sure I know what that is.
It's Diablo-like.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so yeah, maybe not.
No, it's not, but it is on sale, and it's $6 instead of $20.
Gotcha.
And it's a notable game release, so I thought we would bring it up.
And then Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 is also $40,
which still seems too high for me. All right, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter. We appreciate when you do that. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. You can also check out the Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of 8-Bit Betty's music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.
That's right, Nintendo Cartridge Society listeners, what is going down?
Are you ready for a promo?
Let's do yoga. Let's get fit.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Muriel.
And we're the hosts of Hella in Your 30s.
A podcast about a cool couple trying to do adult stuff.
So each week we invite you to join us as we try to learn things we should probably already know, like how does a stock market work? Can we install that bidet? Why are all of our houseplants dying?
This is a podcast for people of all ages because remember,
age ain't nothing but a number.
But being hella in your 30s is a state of mind.
So tomorrow's a new day, let's order pizza.
Campfire.